Hello, I'm Lorraine, ready to give a summary of the talk I gave at the actual Organic and Natural conference. So here we go. Share screen. Sustainable supply chain, conscious procurement, and the circular economy. I didn't realize Tanya was also going to talk on the circular economy, so I've actually moved around a few slides, but this is the gist of what I wanted to present. So this sustainability focus happening around the world is actually about being brave, resolute, persistent, and knowledgeable. It's not about being altruistic and a wuss. And I'm going to talk about the power of supply chain managers. We don't realize what incredible influence we have if we just know how to apply it. So breaking news, this is what we see in the news every day. Starving polar bears, those people on the top right are actually trying to get cool. They're not dead. They're misdiagnosed, many of them with heart attacks, which is actually heat stroke. The fires, the hurricanes, and water, the sea. If you've got a property near the coast, you might not be able to give it away. So insure it and try and sell it. The UN was saying we're coming to a point of no return. And even after the G7, they said climate change is going to be far more damaging than COVID. So the talk here today is going to be about why. I'm finding with the work that I do that too many people actually don't understand the basic issues, why we have to do all the things they're being told to do now. So I run courses on climate and ecocide, either as a full workshop or as a part of a longer masterclass. Then what are the actual the goals and the targets? They're told about these things, but they need to understand, lots of people need to understand what they really mean. Which things do we have to look at? Products and services. And which are the ones that are good and which are the ones that are bad? Keep it simple. People make it so complicated. Keep it simple. And then how do we do this? Tips and techniques, and I'll actually share a template with you to make it really easy where the work is done for you. And who's going to do this? Well, you. The influence you have on corporates and on politicians, but mostly you. So here's my story very quickly to inspire you never to give up. I've been doing this for 50 years, 35 years as a practicing circular economy activist, and 21 years as a professional speaker. I have 2 online directories. They're free to use. We don't sell anything at all. They are like Yellow Pages, so we make no money. We don't take a commission or a fee on any sales. The subscribers just pay us an annual fee to be listed. They're 21 years old now. And we get 33,000 people using them every month, which absolutely blows us away because that was never actually the plan. Unfortunately, it says hotel stuff, but now they are used by everybody. And then when I gave my talks, I actually realized a lot of the people, especially in the hotels, when they started calling me back to give a talk, they had to see, touch, and feel what I was talking about. It couldn't just be talk and chalk. So in a moment of madness, my bookkeeper and I decided to book 100 square meters at the Hostek show and build a mock hotel to prove we could furnish it from front to back with only eco-friendly products. We were absolutely mad, but the greenies are wonderful. Everybody stepped in to help us, to help build, to help display, to help pack, to help unpack. And these are some of the shows that we did. Hotels, the Hostek show, top left, the bottom left was Decorex, beautiful structure, built like a Bali beach house, little pod home on the bottom right, furnished from front to back from our Green Stuff website, where people just sent us things to display on their behalf. We didn't sell anything at all. So we unpacked them, displayed them, repacked them, and the suppliers and manufacturers collected them and took them away. Some of the images, no plastic anywhere, only natural fibers on the beds, bamboo, hemp, wool, FSC woods, the kitchen, everything, energy efficient appliances, FSC wood, bamboo flooring, non-toxic chemicals, only organic fruit and veggies, a gas stove, everything as eco as we could possibly find. We even had a hybrid car around the back, and then we had some models of renewables for the daddies to look at, because it was usually the mummies who came through. And then we take them on a tour to point out the credentials of each and every product, who made it, and why I had permission to be there. I was invited to be the judge for 2 years for the greenest hotel in South Africa, and I do a lot of consulting. This is Hotel Verde. If you're in Cape Town, go and have a look. It is phenomenal. Even the walls are built with recycled plastic balls in them. It's got, if you can see in the front here, wind turbines in the front. It's got geothermal, it's got photovoltaic, it's got solar. It's even got a lift that regenerates its energy. It's got a garden at the back. It's got a natural pool. Unbelievable. If you go, ask for a tour, and they'll take you underground where you can see all the equipment that keeps it winning awards. It's won international awards. I think Triple Platinum Lead Award is one of them. And then we do a walkabout through the hotel. I won't go just through this in detail. We'll go through each room with you, or your office, or your hospital, or your home, or your factory. Walk with you, and then in each room, step back and not point fingers, and not say you've been delinquent, and not say you should know better. Just say next time you recarpet, or next time you paint, or next time you're looking for appliances, consider these things, and then we will give you ideas on what a greener version is of the product you're currently using. Ethical and sustainable food. I'm passionate about good food. I am a foodie, and I belong to Slow Food International. Please look it up and join them. They're not quite as active in South Africa as they used to be, but they're doing incredible work around the world, over 1 million members in every country. And what I did, because often when I speak on ethical food, organic ethical food, people will say it's too expensive, the chefs. So I thought, I'm going to run a double-blind professional academic experiment. And at Prue Leaf Chefs Academy near Pretoria, we got a cut of beef from an Nguni cow, grass-fed, no hormone, no estrogen, no, what's the other thing they talk about? Damn it. And then we got exactly the same cut of beef from a supermarket. I said, don't tell me which supermarket, just let's antibiotics, obviously, antibiotics and hormones for the beef. And then we got organic veggies from Rafelwe, and got exactly the same veggies from the supermarket. And again, I said, don't tell me which supermarket. And the chefs and the students cooked 2 meals side by side and measured, weighed the whole way through that process, and both meals looked absolutely identical. So we had table A and table B, and we didn't tell the chefs. We had 80 executive chefs at the conference, and I had eight speakers. We didn't tell them which table was which, and they had to guess which table had the organic food and the grass-fed beef, and which had the industrial food. Most of them got it right, except for the beetroot, actually, interestingly. So this was my plate of food, divided in 2. On the left was from table A, which was only the organic food, and on the right was the industrial food. Looked identical. Only when you can compare the difference, you realize how chemical, almost metallic, the industrial meat tastes, and we're so used to it, we don't notice. But my hidden agenda was a cost comparison. And once it had been cooked, it was very expensive to buy the organic, much cheaper to buy the industrial food. Once it was cooked, that plate of organic, a plate of food was 15 Rand cheaper because of the shrinkage and the loss of parts that could be consumed from the industrial food. So that was proof. The problem is chefs and anybody actually looks at the cost to buy. They don't look at the cost at the end. So I found myself speaking. I mean, this was incredible. I didn't even know speakers could get paid. I'm just a teacher. I'm a Montessori teacher. And Eskom adopted us. We ran 40 workshops on them on going green around the country. And it's just gone absolutely ballistic from there. So I do keynotes, training, consulting, projects. We will do exhibition stands for you, and I do judging. And this, I can't believe. I'm 78 now. And since I turned 69, I actually laugh. I have 120 awards. It astounds me. I think it's because I was ahead of the game. And some of it, I'm the only person that does what I actually do. So these are the global reports, goals, and targets that people and manufacturers and corporations and buyers and producers have been told they've got to meet. The IPCC, International Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, has said by 2030, that's 10 years away, we must reduce the CO2 by 50%. By 2050, we have to have zero emissions. That's quite a tall order. And the Paris Agreement is saying we have got to keep warming below 2 degrees above what it was before the Industrial Revolution, or definitely must rise less than 1.5. They believe beyond 2, the world will be uninhabitable. Well, we're way beyond that if we don't really hurry up. So the trouble is, this is what people are seeing. All this jargon, sequestration, carbon offsets, carbon tax, carbon sink, carbon capture, carbon credits, carbon neutral, zero carbon. We need them to understand what they mean. So give me a shout and we'll run a little workshop on all of that for you. And here's the thing. What is climate change? If they don't understand, we must remember a lot of people, especially in South Africa, didn't cover this sort of thing at school. Some of them didn't even do geography. So speaking about the atmosphere is meaningless. We need to explain it. We know, I'm speaking to the converted at this conference, so I won't go into detail, but the sun beats down, we take what we need, and the rest bounces out into space again. The trouble is with the blanket of greenhouse gases, that heat can't get out. The heat we don't need can't get out. So it's bouncing up and down, and actually warming up the planet. And then ecocide, there's a whole workshop on ecocide. The climate change, by the way, can be a full day masterclass. When you train with Al Gore, it's actually a four-day course. So ecocide is actually us killing our home. Eco means life. And we are killing life on Earth. Ecological collapse caused by capitalism. Take, use, destroy. And growth for the sake of growth is the ideology of a cancer cell. To grow for a certain percentage for the economy every year is suicide. So the bad guys for the greenhouse gases are all these people on the left. For forest destruction, Monsanto and Bayer actually combined, are destroying forests, and plastic pollution. And then, of course, you can go on to all the others, water, palm oil, deforestation. And if you use these products, just remember, you are indirectly responsible for the killing of 25 orangutans every day. If you put it in those terms, people might actually think twice. So the 4 metrics, which we're going to address here, and the reason for my talk, is the circular economy, conscious procurement, sustainable supply chain, trending enormously around the world at the moment, and regeneration. I was on a talk, on a webinar a couple of weeks ago. In fact, I ignored it. They kept inviting me and I ignored it because it was from Brazil. And I thought, South America somewhere. I looked again, I thought, it's what I actually do. So I logged on and I registered as an attendee. 14,000 people were on that workshop. And they saw me in the chat box. Somebody looked me up and invited me to be interviewed on Instagram that evening. 7,000 people from around the world listened to that interview. That doesn't happen in South Africa, but it's happening globally. So the circular economy is what I've been doing, exactly what I've been doing and promoting for 35 years. Now suddenly has a name, and now suddenly it's trending and everybody's talking about it. And it is so simple. You can make it as complicated as you like, or you can keep it really simple. So the way we used to do things is buy something, use it, and throw it away. Then at the moment, we buy something, recycle it for a while, temporarily, keep it out of landfill, but eventually it ends up in landfill in the sea. What we try to do now is keep it in circulation for much longer, if not forever. The 3 basic R's were recycle, reduce, and reuse over and over again. People are getting used to that. What we do now with the circular economy, we look at the whole lot. We look at rethink, refurbish, reduce, repair, reuse, recover, refuse, and remanufacture. So rethink is things like Uber, new way of doing things, refurbish something, send it and have it refurbished and sent back, reduce, make it lighter, like wine bottles, or somebody's made a motorcycle out of aluminium, it's so light. Repair, think of how grannies lived. We can repair anything. In fact, Philips are making some of their big medical machinery with modular parts. So if a part of a MRI machine breaks down, you just remove that part and replace it with a new or refurbished part. Reuse, like our grannies did. Recover, there's going to be a new mining, landfill mining. Refuse, I'll talk about now, and remanufacture. Send back the tires and let them regroove the tires, and send back an engine and let them remanufacture the parts. Simply refuse these things. No good doing anything else. Refuse your fleece jacket because it's killing off the fish, because the microfibers break off every time you wash it. And fish are eating it, and of course we end up eating it. And what do you think is missing? What I keep seeing is missing. You've got people like Unilever promoting circular economy, and this is what they do, and that's what they do. What is missing is refilling, for God's sake. How can Unilever say they're sustainable if you go into a supermarket or Dis-Chem and the shelves are lined with plastic bottles? You know, in Italy and France, you go into a shop and you can refill your oil bottle, you can refill your wine. Why can't we refill shampoo and toothpaste and body lotion and all those things as well, and cut back on that terrible plastic pollution? Conscious procurement is what I did when I worked for Southern Sun. I was procurement and supply contracts manager for Southern Sun for 50 very, very long years. And I made it my mission after I'd been working in California, I was studying in California, to find a greener version of absolutely everything you use in hotels. So usually people look at the carbon order. They look at energy, water, and waste. And sometimes they'll build a building, put on a solar panel, a water tank, and some recycle bins and call it green. What about everything else? Everything else that you use every day. Because everything you use every day impacts on the environment. So every time we buy or manufacture any one of those products, we need to know its life cycle. And the challenge is the 3 pillars of sustainability: resources, where it comes from, the environment, and of course, companies still have to look at the profit. Not more expensive. There's studies that have been done because eco and green products often last a lot longer. So they're expensive to buy, but their life is much longer. So don't be overwhelmed. People are overwhelmed. So much stuff is being thrown at us at the moment that people are actually having attacks of cognitive dissonance, where you just switch off. It's just too much. So this is how we started. We started with tiny little small steps. We had to guess because, 20 years ago, there were not many measurements being done. And we had to ask suppliers for our Green Stuff website what they did for green. And it was based on trust. With our first show, nobody had done, there was nothing else for us to use. So we made up our own. We had weak, fair to very good to excellent of where did they buy their raw materials, how did they transport, just tiny things like that to think of. And we rated them from 1 to 5 to see if they were compliant enough to be listed by us or to be part of one of our exhibitions. Then we got more sophisticated with energy, water, waste, protection of resources, pollution, and toxins for everything in the exhibitions or in our directory. So just doing the best we can. They weren't measured specifically. You get wonderful online software now that will help you with this. I was going to list some, but there's so many, it's actually not fair. It's not fair for me to choose some. So just Google supply chain sustainability measurement and try and get the software. So this is the life of a product. It's extraction process design the whole way through this disposal. At every stage of that process, there are raw materials going in, energy going in, and water going in. And at every step of the way, there's waste going out into land or into water or into the air. This is what we've got to stop now before you buy anything and look at it. So what I do when I'm talking to an audience that really needs convincing, I have to hit them at an emotional level. So what I say, imagine me talking to a room of 1,000 buyers for the municipalities in the Cape. So I said, imagine you holding the hand of a small child, and he's going to ask you where something comes from, where your new cell phone comes from, or his T-shirt comes from, and you're going to have to walk him through the history of that product. The raw materials, where did they come from? Did they damage the forest? Did they kill off some indigenous people? It's going to be quite hard, a lot of this, to be honest with him. During the transport, how was it transported? By boat? By car? By train? During the manufacture, did they use slave labor? Did they use children? Did they pollute the air and the water? During its packaging, how is it packaged? In plastic? Or are they trying to use more eco-friendly things? And then how is it distributed? And during its use, does it pollute again the air, the water? And does it cause allergies? And most important, how do you get rid of it? Does it simply get thrown away? Can it go back into that cycle? Or are there other alternatives? Could they have used other materials that would be biodegradable or compostable? So these are official academic templates that you can use if you've done a procurement course and supply chain management course. You will be given these. They do all the work for you. So if you're trying to choose a product or a supplier between 1, 2, and 3, you don't want to know who they are because you'll be biased. And then you do your key performance areas and you weight those. So you decide what's most important for you. Are you in the middle of the Sandton? Or are you on a farm? Or are you on a boat? What's most important to you? Quality, delivery, price, packaging. And then you weight them, and then you put in your percentages, and it does all the sums for you and tells you which is the most compliant. Then all you do is you convert that to green. Keep it simple. You can buy these things online if you want. Make your own because you know your product better. And just start somewhere. And if you start like this with the basic key performance areas, it sounds much more not quite so challenging. So we're looking at extractive, sustainable, and regenerative now. This is regenerative. Normally, we just wrecked everything. We just took what we wanted, used it, left behind a great big mess, and threw away the end product. Then we went green. Now we're in the middle of being sustainable. Then we go to restorative, and regenerative is the new word. It's better than saying sustainable. Regenerative means if you go on a farm, for example, if you go onto a piece of land and you start farming there, when you leave, if you leave that piece of land 60 years later, it should be pretty much the same as it was when you moved on, or it should actually be better. And here in the sustainable section, you can do the SDGs. This is Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. Do them here, and then one day we can even improve on those. Greenwashing is rife, absolutely rife, because people aren't aware enough to know what to look for. It's telling lies, it's putting pictures on, it's saying you're better than your competitor. It's a bunch of gobbledygook. So be careful, when I try to say to people, one of the manufacturers made a pillow out of beautiful down and he added polyester. So I said, well, and he called it green. I said, how can you call it green when you get rid of it? Are you going to separate out the polyester and the feathers so you can recycle the feathers? So it's almost like cooking a pot of beef stew and adding spinach and calling it vegetarian. Don't say it won't happen to me. This is just to tell us it's bloody scary. In one day, it's going to happen to you. In one day in my life, I was in Cape Town. I gave a talk and we had that monster storm, that wind that blew us over. You could not stand up. and people were coming off the street into my hotel. We were stuck for 2 days and 2 nights. You could not drive your car. The trains had all gone. The planes were all grounded. They couldn't fly. And that very same night, my friend's house caught fire in Naza when they had those terrible fires. And she tried to get down to the beach in her car as the road was melting, and picked up a lady with 2 parrots and 2 dogs. Cape Town the year before almost ran out of water. My daughter went to France on holiday. It was so hot that instead of sightseeing, they ended up looking for ponds and fountains. They had their baby with them to dip their baby in. And in fact, I believe, ready for the next heat wave in France, they've got an app you can put in your phone now, which tells you, it times you. So you go walking around sightseeing, and then it'll say to you, it's time for you to cool down. It'll tell you where there's a supermarket or a library or a park. You go and you rest there and cool down a little bit, and then it'll say, you've rested and cooled down enough. Quickly check on the old folks and carry on with your sightseeing. One of the biggest areas now where we need to focus a lot more, and I run workshops on these, is adapt or die. We have got to adapt. Climate change is here. We've got to stand back and have a look at where we are and what we use and how we live, and prepare for what's coming to us. So look at your town, for example. Check, can the water sink away, or is it going to run off great big concrete slabs? Farming and agriculture is a whole big workshop on its own. How do you run your factory? What must you get ready for? Your hotel, your office park, like the hotel in Cape Town. Were they ready for people coming off the streets? Did they have blankets? Did they have water? Did they have extra food for those people? Did they have somewhere where those people could lie down and sleep? Your food and catering, we've got to start using local indigenous foods, and probably maize and wheat might not survive the drought that's coming. We have to go to things like millet and sorghum. Your emergency pantry and your emergency survival kit, there are 2 kinds. There's one for when you get stuck at home in your house, or one where you've got to escape and get out. So you need to be prepared for both. And be disruptive. It's no good sitting in your chair watching television and saying, woe is me. You've got to actually do something. Get out there. Get out there and march. And it works. Believe me, it works. Because in 1970, we marched in California, us hippies. We marched against civil rights, women's lib, the environment, and mostly, of course, Vietnam. It works. And your call to action is what they must do and what we must do. We have power over both. What they must do, increase tax, carbon tax, renewable energy, all these things we know, regenerative architecture, rehabilitate the fossil, carbon capture, and of course, geoengineering is a bit sort of science fiction-y at the moment, but scary. It's got to be very, very carefully researched. And then what we can do, the usual stuff that fossil fuels, less meat, go organic, all the rest of that. But sign petitions, as I said, they really work. We got genetically modified ingredients taken out of baby foods in South Africa just by signing a petition. And sponsor people like Greenpeace and the Rainforest Alliance. They really need your money, and boycott. One of the biggest shampoos was quite quietly boycotted. But Procter & Gamble got such a fright that they changed the ingredients within a couple of months. So anytime, call me. Call me, give me a shout. My style is usually much more lighthearted than this. I use quite a lot of humor in my talks, and I will either run just a simple workshop for you, or a long keynote, or a full whole day masterclass, and you choose the topics, either virtually or face-to-face. And remember, the children are watching you, and one day they're going to say, what did you do? Thank you. Masterclasses, workshops, keynotes, and consulting. Just give me a shout.